5. When I don't feel like laying a wig, I will wear a hat, okay? Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. If you are new here today, please make sure to smash that subscribe button, and for all my returning subscribers, welcome to another video by your ultimate fave who's doing something that has been highly requested. Yes, I'm being serious. It was highly requested. So I tend to drop the video suggestions for Vlogtober because I'm trying my best to give people the content that they want to see, right? Don't ask me for a house tour. I'm not doing that. Do not ask me for that, okay? But anything else, I'm definitely down to hear what you guys really want to see. And one of the things that the girlies have been asking for is an updated makeup tutorial. Now, makeup tutorials are a bit tricky because they are catering to people who are makeup enthusiasts. And now, you know, on this channel that we're not really makeup enthusiasts, but I do know that I get a lot of commentary about your makeup is great, how do you do your makeup, this, that, and the third, yada yada yada. And over time it's changed because a lot of subscribers were coming at me saying that they felt like my contouring was too dark, they felt like it was too harsh. They really had a lot to say, so I changed it up a little bit, and then I decided, you know, let me just do it. And then I thought, what better way than to incorporate it with a story time, because that's the one way to keep the other people who really just enjoy me talking engaged, and then for the makeup girlies to obviously have something to kind of enjoy in terms of the face and how I put my face together. So if you guys want to see how I achieved this, as well as the story time, you guys can see by the caption of how my dad flexed at my my high school, which is my primary school, which is one school, then please keep watching. All right, so I'm barefaced right now, and quick story time. I don't even know what made me remember the story. I definitely wish I could have been drinking alcohol, but lo and behold, we don't have any liquor up in this house. So what I might do is just order a Savannah or something, or maybe just drink water, you know? Quite a few people have been asking me to do the story time. Okay, side note, I bought this top from Zara, but I think I should have bought something a little bit more tight because the arms keep like sliding off. A lot of people have been asking for this tutorial, and I don't know why I didn't do it. It's because my makeup tutorial normally stays the same, but lately it's changed completely. So I'm gonna jump right into it, right? I'm gonna start off with the Maybelline Instant Age Eraser in the number 11. Okay, this is finished, but I've got quite a few of these. Like, I've got a few of them, like a lot of them. Okay, I don't know where they are, so whatever, let's just get it started. Okay, so this is a story time of how my dad flexed his muscles at my school, and this teacher who was actually quite, I wouldn't use the word racist because I don't think that's where she went. She just didn't like me as a student. Like, she didn't like me because in my in the beginning of grade 8, so grade 8, 9, so in the early stages of high school, I was quite the vandal in school, but then her disdain towards me was just really becoming weird, right? So I'm gonna use this Instant Eraser as kind of like a color correct. I like it because it's closest to my skin tone. So I went to a school in Germiston for 13 years. I was at that school from grade 0 till matric, and my sister was also at that school, I think from grade 2 till matric as well. I don't think they had a grade 0. I think by the time the school came about, my sister joined from grade 2, if I'm not mistaken. So her and I collectively, we had literally been to that school for like over 2 decades, right? I'm gonna take this Lottie brush that I got from ARC store. So fine, because I had been there for a really long time, guys, the teachers all knew me in primary school. Like, all of them kind of knew who I was, and I always grew up as like the naughty kid who didn't like listen. Not too naughty like naughty, but like naughty like if they say, Naledi, don't do this, you're like, why? So I was one of those students at the school. I don't want to obviously mention the name. Okay, well, I can mention the name because I don't think the teacher that I'm speaking about is there anymore, right? So I went to St. Catherine's in Lambton in Germiston, right? And it's a really good school, guys. Side note, it's a really good school. I tend to miss it from time to time. Like, the teachers, they were wonderful. My principal at the time was Mrs. Johnson, and then yeah, she was amazing, but I think she's already retired by now, but she had been at that school for so long. So okay, fine, primary school was fine, and then I obviously transitioned from primary school to high school because I did actually pass, go to grade 8. And now the teachers who are in primary are teachers who knew me from grade 0 to grade 7, right? But I didn't know the high school teachers because obviously it's on another part of the school. So initially, before the new wing of the school was extended, we still had high school was up, primary school was down. So that's fine. So fine, I transitioned into grade 8, fast forward to grade 8, and I've got completely new teachers. The teachers are great. There were some teachers who obviously had their issues. Like in every single school, there will be that one teacher who does like some very weird and questionable things, you know what I mean? So guys, for my foundation, I use Huda Beauty in the color Toffee, and it's finished. Look, I'm even digging in for it. Like, you know, times are bad when you start doing this. So yeah, now I gotta go to the I'm not too impressed with what's happening right now, but there's still a lot of it. It's just that my other friend Coley decided to open it up, and I wasn't feeling it when she opened it up, but she already did it, so it's fine. I'm gonna go buy more tomorrow. There's still quite a lot inside. I think it's because when I put my foundations, I put them in sideways. So finally guys, I go grade 8, everything is fine. I meet my new teachers, and then I know most of the high school teachers because Kata was in high school when I was still in primary school. So a lot of them just knew me by default as Kata's little sister, right? And they had been there for years as well. Guys, I like to put in a lot of foundation, but let me just make it clear that a little with Huda Beauty goes a long way, okay? But I just like the full coverage. I'm gonna take my Maybelline Lasting Fix, just spray it because I like that, you know? I'm gonna take my beauty blender because most of my foundation brushes are dirty, and I already use that Lottie brush for, you know, that one's also pretty good. So there's this one particular teacher who joins St. Catherine's, and in her transition of joining St. Catherine's, I think for most of like grade 8 and grade 9, because this situation happened when my mom had passed. So because my dad came and took the reins, because I remember I came home that day crying. So for grade 8 and grade 9, I saw this lady because she was teaching grade 10s, grade 11s and matriculants, right? So yeah, I didn't really know much about her until I went into her class in grade 10, and fast forward to grade 8, I knew her because she was the netball teacher. So she was the netball teacher, and we would have netball together, but then I didn't really get to know her, or like I've got emails. That was an email. I didn't really know her or like develop like a disdain for her until grade 10. So she was one of those teachers that people didn't really like because they felt like she was young. She wasn't old. She wasn't one of those teachers who was old. She was young, but she used to like throw her weight around a lot, right? So fine guys, get to grade 10. I did maths lit, by the way. I was doing maths in grade 10 until my mom passed, and then there was this like thing, Naledi guys, she's not gonna make it. Like, she's not gonna make grade 10 because I had been failing so much that even if I wrote like I don't know how many tests, I was not going to make it. Yaba? Sha, aye. So then I dropped to maths literacy, which she was teaching, this lady. Okay, sharp, no problem. Yeah, it's funny because I ended up getting a distinction for her class. But anyway, we move. Grade 10 comes, me and this lady, we butt heads because she was one of those teachers, like, how do I put it, ne? There are those olden day teachers who really like children, and then you have teachers like her who, I wouldn't call it racism, but she just didn't fucks with you if you weren't pink, dog. Like, I just don't know what it was. Like, she just had her favorite students who were brown, and then all the other brown students anasabafili too much, even on the like anasabafili. She feel you, she would like you if you would listen to her, but then if you're one of those kids that would always question her, immediately her disdain would start. Sharp. Okay, fast forward to the story. So I go to grade 10, I go to a class, and now I'm in netball. Now I've been playing netball from grade 2 in St. Catherine's. So that's netball my whole life. Grade 2 to grade 10, that's 10 years, right? And I've always been first team. I've always been first team. Even university, Monash, netball, I was first team. Because that's what I am. I'm a first team kind of girl. Then me and this lady, I'm gonna call her Mrs. Mrs. Cruella Deville. Let's go with Mrs. Cruella Deville. Okay, guys, so to contour, I'm going to use this color Honey. It's not as dark as what I normally use. This is the L'Oreal Infallible Concealer. It's not as dark as I normally use because I don't like, you guys said you don't like the harsh contour that I tend to do from time to time. So I try to switch it up. And you guys said you saw the difference, you liked it. So here we go. Her and I started clashing in her class because I could see, man, she would target me. She would target me, and then the thing was, she was also teaching me netball. So if let's say in her class I would give her a smack, she would take it out on me on the netball courts. So there was this one day where her and I kind of had like a back-to-back because I was very mouthy. I was very mouthy in class. We had like a back-to-back argument, whatever the case may be. She kicked me out the class. She took me to the principal, whatever. And also the principal, her and I, we also had a back and forth. Yo, guys. Yo, even in matric, when I matriculated, I was top student. I got the most distinctions in the grade. I flat out refused to take a picture with my principal. I said no. I took a picture with my CATS teacher and my design teacher. I was like dead in hell. Will I ever? So now the high school principal doesn't know me like the primary school principal. The primary school principal knew me. And now my dad was the kind of parent where he pays school fees for 2023. He pays it in 2022. So like we were one of those kids where we were like the kind of kids where we would never get like those brown envelopes and like we never had those issues, right? So I think my primary school teacher, who was basically the principal of the whole school, and then there was the high school principal, who was the principal of high school, which would basically be the deputy principal. The primary school principal, she knew me and she liked me, right? And even though like I was very naughty, she kind of had that understanding towards me because she used to get along with my parents. And also my sister, she was one of the first kids when St. Catherine's actually opened, and she was really good. She was deputy head girl, she was head girl. My sister was just amazing. I was just the odd one out of the group. So the primary school principal had like a certain love-hate relationship with me because she got along so well with my parents that every time I would make a mistake and stuff, she would she wouldn't overlook it. I would get like detention, I would get all that stuff, but not enough to say, are you expelled? Type of thing, you know, they would call my parents in, whatever. I wasn't doing anything that was worth expulsion. I'll keep it a buck with you. I wasn't doing anything that was worth expulsion. I was just very, like, I would talk back to the teachers. Not obviously in a I know because I can get away with it, but because they would target me a lot of the time. Some of the teachers would actually target me. But when I say some, I'm talking about this one. So, okay, fine. This teacher now, she just came into the school. She doesn't know me. I don't know her. We know nothing about each other. But then I could tell that every time I would ask her why she would do certain things or why she would treat other students differently, she would come at me sideways, right? Sharp. Then one day, it was netball. We had to go to netball, right? Now I can tell, man, when I get to the court, she would put me as reserve. And I'd be like, and then this is during practice. Like I would go a whole hour at netball and not play, and that's unlike me because I was one of the quickest. Like I was the fastest girl in terms of athletics. I was the fastest in my grade, meaning I was the quickest. I was quick. So I don't think I got netball. One of my other friends, her name is Ntogozom Caesar. Her and I used to play netball together. We were best friends. Hi man. Oh guys, I'm using the Maybelline multi-concealer eraser in the color 10. Hi man. We can see now we get to netball because her and I, we play really well together. We understand each other's strengths. She was goal shooter, I was goal attack. So Miss Cruella Deville decides that day to switch us up. She puts in someone else's goal attack and she makes me sit and watch. Now I'm pissed, guys. Now I'm pissed because I'm just like, the person that they put in to play is not half. She's not nearly half as good as me. She's not half as good as me. But it's practice, so I'm understanding. Practice 1, she makes a play. Practice 2, she makes a play. She sidelines me as reserve. She starts putting me in other positions that she knows that I'm not going to be good at, like defense. I'm not a defense kind of girl. I'm more of an attack. So now I'm feeling touched because I'm like, nah, I'm not performing at the best of my abilities, you know? And then every time like I made a mistake on the court, she would like go off at me. She would go off at me, dude, to a point where even I think Ntogozo picked it up at some point, right? Because obviously this thing was touching me a bit. It was touching me quite a bit. Okay, fine. Then I started getting really like upset, depressed. I would come home, I'd be so hurt. I'd be so hurt. I'd be so hurt because netball was basically like my life. It's like ball is life, though. Ball is life. Hi, fine. Then the one day, the one that actually made me tell my dad what was going on, because my dad could see, man, my kid comes home, she doesn't want to talk. My kid waits again, and it's unlike her because Naledi is a chatterbox, right? Okay, fine. Come home one day, I'm crying. It had been like the third or fourth game where I wasn't playing. Like the third or fourth, I think, practice. Just before what's this? Just before matches start. So I have to practice. I have to be in court. I have to be there. Ball is live. You know what it do, what it is. So I come home one day. I don't even remember at which point led me to actually burst out in tears when I got home. I burst out in tears. My dad asks me, "Hi man, king." I start telling him the whole story. I'm crying, dude. I'm crying. She's now taking out all the frustration of disliking me. Now would I even move? Because I even tried to be good in her class, but still nothing would change. Like she would still like treat me some type of way on the court. Because initially I was just like, because I even had asked, I was like, "Hey boo, why am I not playing?" And then she was like, I'm the umpire. I'll decide when you play and when you don't. So I had sat maybe like 4 or 5 games out. Then I was like, no, this is enough. I go home, I cry. I tell my dad I'm crying. My dad is like, okay. He comes, he's like, tomorrow we're going to your school. He's like, tomorrow we are going to your school. I tell my principal doesn't do anything about it, right? Because obviously, my principal also didn't like me. Let's get one thing straight, guys. My principal also didn't like me, right? My principal also thought like I was this very horrid child and whatever. There were very few teachers that I got along with. And one of them was Mrs. Champion, my design teacher, which is so crazy. Her name is Liesel Champion. It's so crazy because she also thought I was like the worst child on earth. But then by the time we got to matric, I was crying just because like I'm leaving Mrs. Champion. And then Mrs. Peter was also a favorite. And then the last but not least, this lady was like my second mom at school. She's the one who actually understood what I was going through, was Mrs. Buchanan. She was my geography teacher. Oh, Mrs. Buchanan. I miss that lady so much. Like I even want to reach out to her, but I don't know how to reach out to Mrs. Buchanan. Like I don't know where to find her. If I go on Facebook, will it be weird? But okay, anyway. Okay guys, I'm gonna use my Huda Beauty. Okay, so this is just a natural look. If I wanted to take it up a notch, I would use this amber from L'Oreal, but then maybe I'll touch it up just a little bit of a notch just underneath the eyes here, just for that bright under eye look. Nothing much really. Fine. My dad is like, no, we're going to school. I tell him, no, Papa, Mrs. Cruella Deville is doing this. I tell him, oh, no, Papa, this is actually what happened in class. I must have talked back at her and this is what happened. Because obviously my dad knows me. I'm his child, dude. He obviously knows. And Naledi must have said some bullshit. But he was like, he wasn't going to tolerate the fact that I'm being... like, you're taking away the one thing from me on netball, which actually has nothing to do with class. And like, he could just see I was so devastated, right? And like, she just said something that set my dad off. I just don't remember what it was. She had said something like, as if like, what are you gonna do about it? Whatever. Like, don't forget, man, we're in a private school, hey? They're going to a private school. She had said something that I think set my dad off, because my dad was like, who is this teacher? Because my dad knew all of the teachers, but he knew the ones from my sister's era, because they knew him, because my mom and dad were together. Fine, next day we go to school. We get out the milk, baby. We get out the SUV. We go, my dad goes straight to Mrs. Johnson's office, and he demands to see Mrs. Johnson, the primary school. He demands to see my principal at the time. Hi. Now my primary school principal is asking, what's a guan, Mr. Mallela? What's happening? My dad is like, my child is being victimized. Who is this principal that's victimizing my child? And then, like he says, there are 2 teachers. So we first sit down with the primary school teacher principal. Sorry guys, I had to pour it here. So we first sit down. No, I think we sat down afterwards. No, we sat down first with the primary school teacher, the primary school principal, because the primary school principal found my dad in the parents' room office, in the parents' office by the door, which is where the parents normally wait when they get to the office and request to see teachers, right? So obviously, guys, my dad is a heavyweight dog. He gets in there, he's like, I need to see this particular. He says, I need to see the high school principal immediately. I need to see the high school principal, and I need to see Mrs. Cruella DeVille now. Now the teachers are jumping up and down. Now they're jumping up and down. Now, hey, I remember the lady who was running the office. She jumped up. She went straight to the primary school principal. She's like, Mr. Mallella's in the office. He's demanding to see this particular principal. Hi, Wushubege. The primary school principal asked what's going on. My dad was like, nah, listen, mates, I'ma clock you after this. I need to settle something here. Now it's time for the meeting between high school principal, Mrs. Cruella DeVille, me, and my dad. Okay, so they come in, they sit down, they call the teacher. Hi, again, Mrs. Cruella DeVille tries to explain herself. No, yeah. My dad is like, what is this I hear about my child not being able to play on the court? She's like, no, Mr. Mallela, so what's currently going on is that I'm the netball teacher, We've had an issue with Naledi and, her attitude, She goes on. And one thing about my dad, you must be very afraid when my dad is dead silent, because when my dad is dead silent, you must know that comeback is filthy as fuck. When my dad is dead silent, be very afraid. Because when he was dead silent the last time, untlapile from here to Zirbekom, dog. So then she starts going, no, Mr. Mallela, I think there's just been an issue with Naledi in class. Naledi doesn't really, pay attention. And now, the one thing Miss Cruella DeVille gets wrong is that my marks are going up, right? Now that I moved with my dad, my marks are getting better. Because I now have no friends. I'm sitting at home. My dad is a perfectionist. He doesn't like failure. Like, yo. My dad was actually, he wasn't the easiest parent to deal with, but he was definitely like one of those like shrewd parents, like the ones that we read about like in books and stuff. Cool, no problem. She says her piece, yeah, Naledi, man. The thing is, there's nothing wrong. I don't dislike her, Mr. Mallela. It's not like I dislike her or anything like that. It's just that, sometimes it's really difficult. Now she's changing as if she wasn't shouting at me, fuckering me in class. Okay, sharp. So my dad is sitting like this, bro. And he's listening. And he's like, okay, cool. He's like, okay. Guess what the first thing my dad says? He's like, listen, yeah, I don't know you and I don't know you. He looks at the principal and the teacher. He's like, listen, I've been taking my daughters to the school for almost 2 decades. I have no idea who you are and I have no idea who you are. The only principal that I know and interact with is this principal right here. This principal has never called me to let me know about my child's like misdemeanors or whatever. And now today, you guys are calling me, telling me about my child. Okay, that's fine. What does what happens in class have to do with the netball court? Why am I getting the sense that you're victimizing my child? Yeah! I looked at it, I was like, let's go. That's my daddy. Go daddy. Go daddy. I was like, that's my daddy, bro. I was like, exactly. Babuze, ask them. So my dad now, he's going off. And as she's trying to respond, my dad is like, I gave you an opportunity to speak. I would like to finish what I'm saying. And it looks like this. He's like, I gave you an opportunity to speak. I'd like to finish what I'm saying. My kids have been in the school for so long. Never had any issues of this regard. My child has been in the school since grade 0, since Mrs. Henry and Mrs. Taylor. She's been here every single day. You guys just came here right now. And now you guys are telling me things about my child that I've never heard in this particular school. Tell me again. Zoop, zoo, that's my daddy. Hi, is that shoe back in? Ooh, I'm so dirty. Oh my god, hold on. Okay, Zashu, but guys, I'm not going to do anything on my eyes here. I'm just doing an updated foundation tutorial. Like, you guys didn't ask me like for the whole shebang. You just asked me for a foundation tutorial. That's all you asked for. Hi, Zashu, hi, okay. My dad is such a thug. He makes me so proud. My dad, then he goes off. I'm gonna use this Hermosa Flow Cosmetics thingy-mabobby, the Grace eyeshadow palette, which is this one right here, because I'm not really doing anything to my eyes. So my dad then says, you know what? He's like, what I fail to understand is, how do you think teaching a child a lesson is by punishing them, especially in a sport that my daughter has been excellent at? You punish her to get your point across. Who do you think you are? If you have an issue with Naledi, why do you not call me? Who do you think you are trying to punish my child by removing her off the netball court? And then my dad's like, how long have you been teaching here? He's like, let's get one thing straight. If you want to victimize my child, I am more than happy to have you guys return all the school fees that I've sent, and then I will take her to another school. There's St. Dominic's right over here. Yo, he goes off. There's this. He's like, but what you're not going to do is victimize my child ever again. Yeah! And then my dad, guys, he's got this demeanor, man. It's very scary, man. I like it. I love him so much. He's got this demeanor, guys. It's just very scary. My dad was like, if you guys have an issue with my child and you think you can punish my child without telling me who's the parent here, why don't you call me? When have you ever called me to tell me that Naledi's doing this? Who do you think you are? Because you don't know who you are. Oh, okay, fine. Now I'm sitting there and I'm like, son. My dad goes off, and he's like, listen, if you guys ever do something like this again, I promise you it's not going to end well. And he's like, then he made some comment. He's like, as a matter of fact, I don't even know why I'm conversing with you guys, because I don't know who you guys are. I pay my school fees to the primary school principal. That's the person I converse with. I have no business speaking to you guys. So then my dad is like, then he's like, you know what, I've got work to do. Because I was in the morning. It was just before class. And guess what? It was just before maths lit. God is so good. My mom was like, not my baby. It was just before maths lit. And my dad is like, listen, I've got work to do. I've got a business to run. So if you guys are going to keep mistreating my daughter, you let me know. I will find her a school that will be a better suit for her. Because clearly, you guys have no idea what you're doing here. If you guys have an issue with her in a classroom, you deal with it. You call her parents, you do whatever you do, but you sure as hell do not try to showcase these power dynamics on a court. I just love him so very much. And then after that, I okay, fine. Then my dad leaves, and then after that, he shouts at me. He obviously shouts at me in the car. He's like, you also need to get it to fucking get that. Like, he shouted at me at home. He obviously shouted at me because my dad harate mahlo. My dad has mahlo. My dad does not like being embarrassed. Do not, whatever you do not embarrass my dad. Like, just do not embarrass him. Okay? You embarrass him, then you basically embarrass the whole lineage of the Mallela family. I'm not kidding, bro. My dad is not good. My dad is one of those parents that were like, you know, when like you're a tennis player and your dad is like, come on, train. And I'm just like, dog, I can't do it anymore. I'm telling you, dog. So anyway, he shouts at me there by the corridor in Sutu so that no one can hear us. And then he also lets me know, like, dude, if they do anything, then he talks to primary school principal and he tells her, like, since when does Naledi get treated like this? And since when do you guys not call me? Because you know that I'll discipline her the best way I see fit. Now primary school teacher is pissed because she's like, what the hell are you guys doing? What are you doing? So now primary school teacher has to alert high school teacher that, what the fuck are you doing? That's like one of like our best, I don't know, what do you call it? Our best parents, like, you know, when the parent that's always paying school fees. Guys, I even got a certificate for paying my school fees every year on time because I paid it the year before. I even got a certificate for that shit. So primary school teacher was pissed off because primary school teacher's like, what the fuck are you guys doing? why don't you call me when Naledi's giving you issues? So now high school principal, and now what's this? The other principal are now looking a bit shoddy. They're now very like shocked. They now obviously like are just like, oh shit, fuck. And then after that, they put me back on the court, but me and that lady never ever got along again. Like even throughout her class, like even when I would get like the best marks, I think I just did it to spite her at the end of the day, because I think there was also that thing that Naledi was failing so much because her mom had passed on. There was always that thing, like there was always going to be the skepcel of the class, and to some degree in grade 10 it was me, because I only came in the middle of the class, and it seemed like I dropped because my marks were bad, of which they were. But when I look back at it now, because I had gotten a distinction in statistics and varsity, like maths should have not defeated me the way that it did. So but eventually like I let it go. But there was also a little bit of like that, you know, that thing where you were just like, dude, you were such, this is a pink must, what am I putting pink for? Where I was just like, dude, this teacher, she didn't like me for a really long time. And in return, I think after that, she disliked me even more, because now she had to put me back in the team. Even when she called out like the first team names, you know what she did? It was a week before the matches started. She was there now like calling out the teams, like who made first team, who made second team, who made... Sorry guys, I didn't realize I wasn't recording. She calls out 6 people. So after she calls out those 6, there's 1 more people, and then it's reserves. And then you know what she does? Then she pauses for a while. And Naledi. Well, and then she calls out my name like right at the very, 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 very end, and then she calls out the 2 reserves. So that's pretty much how it played out with me and that lady. But then towards matric, I think obviously when I started doing really, really well in my class, in her class, because I did obviously get a distinction in her class, she started liking me. And I don't know what to call it, man. I also stopped being like that kid was a vandal. Because I think also another thing about me is that living at my mom's and constantly having to compete with my sister, it put a dent in my what do you call this? In my self-esteem. So when I moved to my dad, there was a completely different thing. Like my dad would push me. My mom was the type of like, why don't you do as good as other kids? You know? My dad was like, you're not gonna fail. You're gonna study, you're gonna pass, and you're gonna be the best. So I think a lot of this be the best comes from my dad and my mom's parenting skills were 2 different. There were 2 different types of parenting skills. My mom was the kind of mom that would compare you to, like, you know, and my dad was the, no kid of mine is a failure. Period, point blank, it is what it is. Okay guys, so I'm going to basically contour and bronze. I should put on my eyelashes, but I'm super lazy, so you guys are just gonna have to deal with the fact that I'm not putting them on. Deal with it. Let me just put on a little bit of mascara and then take it to the top. So next I'm gonna take this Immersive Floor. I love this brush. It's like a flat topped brush. And then I'm gonna take this Palladio Baked Bronzer. I got this recently. The color is Illuminating Tan. I didn't like the dark bronzer, the matte one that you guys, I had thinking to you guys, because you guys said it makes me a little bit too dark and stuff. So I'm trying this one, and it kind of worked, because you guys will see how I kind of play it together. So I'm just gonna very gently go in with it. So yeah guys, that was like my schooling career for most of my high school career. Like I had a difficult time kind of connecting with a lot of teachers, because a lot of teachers kind of, they didn't have they didn't think I would actually do as well as I did. And to be really honest with you guys, if I'm keeping it a buck, I also didn't think I'd do as well as I did. You see guys, I'm sweating so much, even the... Okay, there we go. They really didn't think I'd do as well as I did. And honestly, I also didn't know if I was going to do as well as I did. But I did. So it's just one of those things that I'm like grateful for, that the teachers who never gave up on me, for example, Mrs. Buchanan, she was my geography teacher. She was the teacher, if I'm really being super honest, she was the teacher who really loved me, dude. Like, she made this comment to my dad when I moved from position like 13 to position 4. She made this comment. And it wasn't grade, I think it was in grade 10 or 11. Because in grade 10, No, I'm lying. In grade 10, I moved from position 20 something to like position 7 in the class in grade 10. And then in grade 11, I moved from like position that to position 4. So I was number 4. So there was the top student, there was somebody else, and then there was me, Naledi. Okay guys, now I'm gonna use this blush that I got many years ago from MAC. It's called, I can't flipping read this. No idea what it is. It's like a very nude blush pink, and it's matte. And what I like is when I build it in with that contour from Play-Doh, it puts the color back in my face without obviously that harsh bronzer thing that you guys dislike. You see? So it's kind of like a build. Like I build it from here to there. Because I obviously like the baked bronzer, but I also don't like it doesn't have that red undertone that my other bronzer had. So I'm still getting used to the fact that it doesn't have that red undertone. So I like to kind of mix it with the pink, and I do see it looking really good. And then I go in with my nose. But yeah, I think I do prefer this over the other one that you guys were saying that was a bit too harsh. So yeah guys, my high school career was pretty interesting because it took a turn. I don't like what this is doing. It was like an interesting turn of events because I jumped from being like one of like I literally went from being one of those students that just when most teachers thought I was gonna fail to being in the top 10 to literally being in the top 5, and then in matric to obviously being number 1. Well, I wasn't technically, the technicality behind it is that I was top student, but I wasn't number 1. So top student in the sense that I had the most distinctions in the grade, but this other guy called, was it Kevin or was it Dumi? Either Kevin Naft or Idumeleng beat me by like 1%. Like they beat me in terms of like, if I got 79, they got 80. Ah, fuck! I hate doing that to my face. I hate putting glitter on my face. I don't like it anymore. So yeah, that's pretty much what happened, guys. That's pretty much how my high school career was. There was a lot. I kind of became very isolated when my mom died. But I will say this, my dad's parenting skills worked a whole lot better on me because I think the tough love worked on me a lot more than I'd like to admit. It worked a lot on me. It was one of those things where I was just, people ask me what I like to do on my lips. The tough love kind of really worked in my favor because it allowed me to, you know, really come alive. Okay guys, I'm going to use the almond floor mix as well as L'Oreal. Haven't changed this nude, don't plan on changing it ever. So yeah guys, that's what happened. My dad was like, not my child. And it was the first time I think I appreciated my dad because my mom never used to fight for me. No, she did, man. No, she actually didn't. My mom didn't fight for me like that. I think you need to understand that my sister got the best of both worlds. So my sister had the best of both worlds. She had both my parents go to her swimming things. She was there, prize giving, whatever the case may be. But to be really honest with you, when I started living with my dad when my mom died, my dad was such a present dad. Like, he came to all my prize givings. I think year after year from grade 10 when I made it to the top 10. And then grade 11 when I made it to the top 5 in prize giving, and then matric when I was literally number 2 in the grade. And I think that's for when my dad really, like, he was so proud of me. He was so proud. Like, everyone kept saying your child is literally the definition of a success story. Like, it's when no one had faith in her that she literally kept her head down and she worked, and look where she is now. That's what Mrs. Buchanan said. Buchanan, I'll never forget. She was like, your child is literally the definition of a success story. You know, when you have the right parenting, whatever, when you really push your child, but in a positive way, man. Like, my dad would help me make my projects. Like, he really would take me to P&A. I think obviously having the resources of living with my dad was a lot easier. Like, being able to go to P&A. I lived with my mom, so qualificationing, things were different. But when I moved to my dad and I really worked, man, and my dad would be so proud of me every time I got good marks. It kept pushing me to a point where there was this one girl in my class. Her and I were competing for this particular subject, and I remember her mom saying, why can't you beat her? And I was like, cause you ain't me. Get with the winning team, ho. But yeah, I won like I think 7 trophies in matric year. I think I won 4 trophies, 4 distinctions, and then I think I won most improved learner in the grade, sportswoman of the year, and I won another one. I just forgot what it was, but they're all at my dad's house. But yeah, guys, let me just put on my wig so you guys can see the final look, and then we can call it a day. One thing about me, guys, when I don't feel like laying a wig, I will wear a hat, okay? These are let me have some water. Because these lights are lighting, honey. Something in me just said put on your eyelashes because a look is not finished until eyelashes are on. And I think that's something I got from Nolene, because Nolene says I look super weird without eyelashes, but I think she's just jealous. She doesn't know how it works. But anyway, this is the final look, you guys. Anybody who wants to know I got this hair, you guys know I always get my hair from TT Hair Couture. I really like it. I think it's changed quite a bit. I will stay true to this combination. Nothing really has changed about how I do my makeup. I guess it's just the products that change from time to time. And that is essentially the end of the story time. Comment down below, let me know what you thought of this updated makeup tutorial. But until then, I will see you guys on the next video of Vlogtober right here on the channel. Love you guys so much and goodbye.